So it's the beginning of June and I'm in the shelter in Baltimore County. And when I left, I was planning on just going to the hospital with my son. So I'm in my green sweatpants, I'm in my brown tank top, I'm in my furry Crocs. I have nothing else except these phones and my house keys, that's it. So I'm like, okay, the good thing with shelters is usually they have donations with like clothes and like hygiene products and stuff like that. The problem was the shelter I was at, they were in the middle of changing over like the company that managed it. So the company that managed it when I got there had gotten rid of every single donation. So there was no clothes, there was no hygiene products, there was nothing. And so I'm like asking, like, please somebody help me. I have no clothes. I can't take a shower. Can't do anything. I can't brush my teeth. I can't do anything. Please help me. And they're like, we'll try. And nothing came of that. So for the first week and a half maybe, in the shelter, I could not take a shower. I could not change my clothes. It was that time of the month, so I felt disgusting. I'm in like a 30-woman dorm. I am like falling apart. So like every time that I think that life is getting better, it gets worse. And I feel like, is God real anymore? Like, why am I going through all of this? This is like torture. I feel disgusting. I can't even like shower. I can't even put on new clothes. I have nowhere to go. I can't go outside. I have to eat what they have, and they're in the middle of like changing companies, and like food is scarce. I have to eat stuff like I really don't like, because if I don't eat it, I have nothing else to eat. And I, like my son, I can't see my son. My other kids turned on me. My oldest kid even texted me while I was like in the shelter pretending to be nice, and I knew that it was fake. So I had to like separate myself. He texted me like, hey mom, I just want to talk. I'm like, Peyton, like, I can't talk to you. I love you so much, but I don't know what you are in, and I can't talk to you, because they were using my kid to try to like communicate with me. And after like I did that, then he showed his true colors, because remember I had posted like on Threads, and I'd even done a podcast like months earlier talking about like narcissistic abuse from my husband, like before things got real crazy. And like I like reposted it on Threads, so like nobody knew about it until they found my Threads after I posted about my son being SA'd. So they went crazy. Like my son, like the day after, same day that he texted me trying to pretend that he wanted to talk to me and he loved me, literally went on Threads. Well, I don't know if it was him. He said it was him, but who knows? It could have been my husband or somebody else pretending to be him, and literally like posted all this horrible stuff about me. It was literally like tagging me, like, you better answer me. It was like the person who I had recorded the podcast with. My husband had reached out to her. My sister had reached out to her saying that I'm a liar, and they want to do the podcast because they want to set the record straight and like tell everybody how horrible I am and how I lied about everything. And thank God, like, me and her had a good relationship, and like we had talked enough that she knew like I wasn't lying. And so she's like, no, like, I'm not even going to entertain their antics. I'm so sorry that like you're dealing with this. And she's absolutely amazing. That's Helena, Escape the Paradox. She's a godsend, and I love her to death. So I'm just like, this is a lot. Mentally, I'm like, I don't know if I can hold on. And so I'm praying every day for peace, for strength, I'm wondering if God hears me. I feel like God hates me and forgot about me. And then things change. So one day, it's been like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks that I'm there. I'm like still haven't showered, changed clothes. And this church comes, and I'm eating lunch in the cafeteria, and somebody comes in and is like, oh yeah, there's a church here with a table full of like clothes and hygiene products outside. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. Like, I was praying for this. What? And so I like run out there, but it's a shelter full of people who also like run out there. So I like grab a few things. I like lost all this weight. I'm like a size small now. Most of the stuff that they have out there is like a size large, but I'm like, I don't care. I need clean clothes. I need hygiene products. Like I grab like body wash, like deodorant, like shampoo and toothbrush and toothpaste and those like basics. And I'm just like, maybe God does hear me. Maybe there is a God like who didn't just turn his back on me and abandon me. And I'm just so happy. So I go back in, I like grab a few things. I literally only have like maybe 1 or 2 outfits, but it's better than what I have, and I can finally take a shower, so I'm happy. And then I'm sitting back in the cafeteria eating, and this girl comes up and she's like, hey, they want to see you outside. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, they were asking for you. So I go out there, and they're like, yeah, we were looking for the girl in the green pants. And the lady from the church comes up and she's like, you stuck out to me. I'm like, what? And she's like, I want to help you. I'm like, what? And I just break down. I break down. Because I had been praying and I didn't think God heard me. Whew. Not only did he hear me, he sent this woman to the shelter. Out of the like 200 people in the shelter, she said, I saw you and I'm gonna help you. And she went to Walmart and she bought me everything I needed. She bought me clothes, underwear, bra, everything, every hygiene product, everything I needed. Only me. And she brought it back to me. And I'm crying and I'm like, you don't understand, you don't understand, you don't understand. You just answered my prayer. And she literally was like, I'm not gonna tell you the story of like what brought me here and what brought me to you, because it's gonna scare you if I tell you. And then I was like, okay. Like throughout this whole time, I talked about before, like getting more into spirituality, not really understanding like what's happening, not like trying to understand like what is spiritual warfare, what is everything. I believe in God, but then why am I suffering so bad? I've been like a good person and evil is winning. These people are straight evil and they are prospering and I am losing everything. How? How is God real? I'm praying. And then that happened. And that changed everything. Because there was not a doubt in my mind that God was real. That solidified it. That's how I knew. That's how I knew that God was with me. That everything I went through was for a reason. And that everything would work out. Because God was in control. If God could hear my prayers and answer my prayers that way, and send this woman to the shelter and point me out of 200 people because I prayed, God is in control and I don't have to worry. So, and I'm in the shelter and I'm like, what do I need to do? I need to use this time productively. No more thinking of myself as a victim. No more poor me. No more why me. No more this isn't fair. No more vengeance. No more bitterness. No more anger. I have to heal. I have to truly heal. And I have to truly give it to God. I am a control freak. And if you saw like I think it was the second video I posted where I told you like my whole back story, you can tell like I'm kind of a control freak. I work all the time. I was like school, super focused, and I always thought I did it in my own strength. I always thought like, oh wow, you're accomplishing all these things and I'm in this situation where I can't get out of. I am the master of figuring things out. That's why I always like excelled at work and excelled at school, because like anytime there's a problem, I'm gonna figure out a solution. Everybody else is like running around acting crazy, and I'm like level-headed and like, no, there's always a solution. Now I'm in a situation that's way above me. I got the police like doing I don't know what. I got, Shepherd Pratt, the psychiatrist, doing I don't know what. I got my whole family. I got my kids. I got my ex-husband. And it's just me, and I have nobody. God put me in a situation for a reason. And I have to learn what he's trying to teach me. And one of those huge lessons is you're not in control of anything. God put me in a position that I can't get myself out of, that only he can get me out of. So that I would learn to depend on him. I would learn to trust him. And so that's what I learned to do while I was in the shelter. So, I was literally in the shelter from 1st or 2nd of June to the end of December. And my life completely changed. Who I am as a person completely changed. I let go of all the bitterness. I forgave everyone who's hurt me. It sounds crazy, but I had to release all of that anger, bitterness, hurt, and forgive. I can see that the people who hurt me are hurting themselves. They are dealing with unhealed trauma. Again, I learned about spiritual warfare, that I'm not wrestling flesh and blood. These people, the way that my husband's eyes turned black while he was physically abusing me, the things that these people are doing is demonic. And they're literally being used by the devil to get me and break me. They probably don't even realize for real what they're doing. So I had to let go of all of that and understand this is spiritual warfare, and I have to put on the full armor of God. There was a library in the shelter, and I'm like, I just gotta find something to help me. And there was a pretty pink Bible. I had never read the full Bible. I started with just online. I downloaded that Bible app, I believe, while I was in the shelter at first. And I didn't know where to go, so I would just kind of Google, what's the story about this? So I started with the story of Job, and that resonated because, Job, I lost everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my life. And guess what? Job wasn't being punished. God allowed the attack. And that resonated with me. And I read the story of Joseph, whose own brothers first wanted to, take his life, but then ended up selling him into slavery. And then he was lied on and thrown into prison. And then he ended up in the palace. And everything that the enemy meant to harm him is what God used to propel him into his destiny. And it was his brother's envy that had them do that to him. And like, this is me. This is my family. This is my family. My sisters were always like weird, especially the sister that I was closest to. She was like always copying me. She was always like competing. It was really weird. And like, all of this makes sense. And then I got this pretty pink Bible, and I wanted to know God, and I wanted to read his word, and I wanted to understand, because I had just read these stories, and I Googled like just trying to find some type of like hope and inspiration, and that led me to reading the entire Bible. And thank God it was NLT, because King James Version was a hard read for me. But NLT was easier for me to read, so I had nothing to do. And I read the Bible every day, all day. And I read the full Bible in a month. But reading the Bible changed my perspective, for sure. And I was so happy that I did. I was so happy that I did. Everything finally made sense. And that doesn't mean it didn't hurt. And that doesn't mean there weren't days that I cried. None of that. Like, it was hard. But I found peace. I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew that there were all these examples in the Bible of people who endured far worse than me. People who faced very similar battles. All these stories that what seemed impossible was not impossible with God. From him parting the Red Sea, to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire, coming out not even smelling like smoke, to Daniel in the lion's den. All these things that seemed impossible, that God, it's not impossible. So I'm like, no matter how impossible the situation looks for me, guess what? God is in control. And so I am just going to use this time productively. I'm going to use this time to learn what God is trying to show me, what he's trying to teach me.